The Martin Luther King Jr. Birthday Celebration Coalition, and I'm talking to Ms. KLinebaugh, who is the director of the National Conference of Christian and Jews, and Mr. JFair, the director of housing management for the MDHA, the Metropolitan Development Housing Authority. Before we had our break, we were talking to Reverends MKellar and AWhite. We were talking about the worship service that will be part of the Martin Luther King celebration. Ms. Linebaugh, I would like to solicit from you your attitude about the importance or the significance of this celebration. You are a member of the committee, and you also represent the National Conference of Christians and Jews, and so I'd like to sort of get that element of it.
Well, I'm very excited about having the opportunity to be a part of this, to plan a community-wide event. NCCJ is we celebrate a workable pluralism, which is what Martin Luther King believed so much into. Therefore, we feel like that to celebrate an event that really brings the whole community together is very exciting, that anyone that promotes justice and brotherhood and peace is with such outstanding leadership that Martin Luther King had, that it's a time for the whole community to participate.
Very well. And Mr. Ferrar, let's look at some of the activities in reference to one of the parts of the celebration, and that is the march to the Legislative Plaza. Perhaps you can give us some information about the planning of the march this year.
We've planned the march this year trying to utilize all facets of the community. To that end, we have tried to contact all community leaders, all community groups who were interested in playing a part in making this the second annual Martin Luther King commemorative celebration a great success. We have tried to, ahead of time, plan to see what things were left out, could be included, that the city could assist with in making this truly a great community effort, a community celebration. Martin Luther King was a great man. He was a great American. And we want this to be America's celebration. We want the city of Nashville to participate in its fullest, in its entirety, in making this a great, great commemorative celebration.
Very well. Ms. Linebaugh, one of the elements of the march on to the Legislative Plaza will certainly have to do with the high schools. And, well, not only the high schools, perhaps even the elementary schools and all of the public schools, public as well as private schools, I would imagine. Have you given any thought in terms of how we might be able to bring in more of the schools in the system?
Well, we certainly think that it's important for our young people to celebrate as part of this celebration. Reverend MKellar mentioned about the school programs that they have, and we're also hoping that the young people will be able to go to the Legislative Plaza for that event. We cannot stress enough how important for each generation to be educated towards something that is important for future, to realize the struggles of civil rights and the messages that Martin Luther King has given us to teach us so many things that are very important for our young people. So I hope that they will be a part of this.
So the schools should be a part of it.
Right, we think so.
And we would all encourage schools to participate in the march. Mm-hmm. In reference to the march, is there any difference? I know that this is the second annual celebration, and that last year we started off. Was there anything that we learned from our last year's experience, Mr. Ferrar, that ought to make this year a much more successful year?
I think we would be remiss if we didn't say that last year's celebration was, for the most part, sponsored or initiated by the Rainbow Coalition in conjunction with the Interdenominational Ministerial Fellowship. I think that one thing perhaps we've learned from last year is that we want to make this more a total community commitment, and therefore we want to include in as sponsors many of the groups, or as many of the community groups that are available who are willing to participate. At the present, we have planned for the march to originate in 5 different locales throughout the city: Bethel AME, Mount Ararat in South Nashville, First Baptist Church, Main Street, East Nashville, Jefferson Street Baptist Church in North Nashville, and the Baptist Theological Seminary, which is in southwest Nashville. I think, however, though, that the planners of the celebration would be willing to include any and all groups that are willing to come forth and be identified as wanting to participate.
Now, what about the time and date on this? We've got about 2 minutes.
January 19th is the date. That will be on a Monday. The plans are to assemble at those places or those sites at 10 o'clock, and from there we will march from different points of the city to the Legislative Plaza, where a program is being planned for the plaza. I would like to note that there was one held last year on the plaza, and it was one to be remembered. We hope that this year will be much more success. I would like to also point out that plans are being made in some of the local churches to have services for those persons who are unable to participate in the actual walking. Well, they will hold services in those churches, which will be identified later on.
Very well. Ms. Linebaugh, any final comments? We've got about a minute. Any final comments on the importance or the significance of this, or anything that you might wish to say?
Well, I would like to encourage, I think churches, even if we participate in interfaith services, but also in their own churches, that so much of Martin Luther King's messages came through his strong religious faith, and I think that this is the time to think of that, and also for families to be united, because this is something that he believed in, is the uniting of all people.
Very well. And on behalf of Black Pulse, we'd like to thank both of you, as well as the other members of this committee, for coming by and talking with us this evening. And we would also like to encourage people to come out and participate in all facets of this very, very important event. It was an important event last year, but we do anticipate it to be a much larger and a much more well-attended event this coming year. On behalf of Black Pulse, I would like to bid you good night.